Welcome into Tiger Talks Wrestling. I am your host, Tony.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome into Tiger Talks Wrestling. I am Tony, and at the moment, I'm flying solo. But we are here for the 6th episode of my week in review of WWE and AEW programming. A lot to go over. John is planning on coming in here in a little bit. He's just getting off work apparently at 8 o'clock. We'll see if anybody else joins in at any point in time. If not, this is me flying solo this week otherwise. All right, so the first show I'm going to go over, of course, is the show that starts off the week every week. We got Monday Night Raw, which emanated from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York this past Monday night. Show started off with Becky Lynch coming out, and Becky kind of saying she wanted a shot. She had gotten this feud with the Damage Control and had lost focus on the bigger picture and the women's championship. She kind of lost her focus on that. So she was wanting an opportunity, a chance to qualify for the Elimination Chamber match and make it a 7-way instead of a 6-way. She had Adam Pearce in the ring. She was talking with him a little bit. And of course, that brought out Bayley, who also said, hey, yeah, if you think you're getting an opportunity, I deserve an opportunity as well. Those two bickered back and forth, saying that they deserve shots at the title. Becky mentions how she's main evented WrestleMania. Bayley mentions how she's been Grand Slam champion, pretty much. They bicker back and forth like you normally hear. And then Bianca Belair finally comes out and says that she loves the competition and she would love to kind of put an end to it herself. So what we end up getting, Adam Pearce makes for the main event a triple threat match. Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, where if Bianca Belair wins, neither one of the two would be in Elimination Chamber, but if Becky or Bayley win the match, they would be included in the Women's Elimination Chamber match to determine the number one contender for the Raw Women's title. It was a pretty good promo to kick off Monday Night Raw, I felt like. From there, we go to backstage, Byron Saxton talking with the Judgment Day. Nothing huge there, just led to the Street Profits facing Damian Priest and Finn Balor with Dom in their corner. Dom, of course, was an X Factor as usual. Street Profits looked really good in the match. So did Priest and Balor. Finn Balor gets the win with the coup de grace on Angelo Dawkins, which made sense since Dawkins wasn't going anywhere when it came to Elimination Chamber anyways. Again, good match. After the match, Priest goes back after Montez Ford. Both men will be in the Elimination Chamber match. Dominic and Finn get back involved, and Angelo Dawkins gets involved. Out comes Edge and Beth Phoenix. Comes down to Dom and Beth being the two in the ring. Beth has a hold of Dom, going for the Glam Slam again on Dominic, like she did last week. But from behind comes Rhea Ripley with a shot to the back, and Rhea hits Riptide on Beth Phoenix to get a one-up on the Glamazon this time around in the Grit couple. Again, nice little brawl there, leading into what we're going to be seeing at Elimination Chamber. And they show Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs celebrating their Super Bowl victory. From there, we get Adam Pearce coming out to do the contract signing for the Elimination Chamber event as the Beast, Brock Lesnar, comes to the ring. And he's waiting on Bobby Lashley to come out and sign that contract. But instead of Bobby, we get security guards coming out and staff members bringing out another table and security guards standing in the way. And then we get Bobby Lashley come out who says, this isn't Brock Lesnar's time. This isn't being done on Brock Lesnar's terms. This is done on my terms. So I say you bring the contract down here. I'm not coming up there. I'm not getting near you, Brock. Bring the contract down here. I'll sign it here. Brock was not having that at all. He just decided, well, you're not coming here. I'll go to you, come to you. And Brock decimated through all the security guards as usual, only to get blasted by Lashley and a spear from Bobby Lashley to end the segment. It was a really good segment, I felt like, and it kind of served its purpose as to what we're going to be getting out of it. We'll have a lot more to talk about that later. And from there, we moved into Piper Niven versus Mia Yim. In a battle between two women who are kind of in flux, in my opinion, here. Mia still trying to get her footing since she returned to WWE. And for Niven now going by Piper Niven, finally on the main roster, is trying to figure out where she fits in the fold, so as to speak. These two had a pretty good match. I won't say great or bad in any way, shape, or form. It was just really good. In the end, Piper gets the win. Really good win here for Piper. She needed the momentum going forward, I felt like, with the name change and everything. But it's hard to say that Mia needed to lose there because she still could use some momentum as well. All right. Got the recap from SmackDown. Kathy Kelly goes out to Baron Corbin. We go backstage to Kathy Kelly talking with Baron Corbin in gorilla position while she started to, and then she interrupted Baron to go live as Sami Zayn hit the ring. And Sami Zayn comes out there mentioning what Cody Rhodes had to say to Paul Heyman the week before, and brings up all that stuff, and Sami calls out Cody Rhodes. They want to talk to him face to face. So out comes the American Nightmare, and we get another great promo here from Cody Rhodes, but not just Cody and Sami here. Sami saying he's doubting himself. He doesn't know for sure that he can beat Roman Reigns, and he just wasn't sure of himself, pretty much. And Cody told him, hey, Sami, you can do this. You can beat Roman Reigns. And at the end of the promo, Cody looks at Sami and says, I don't want to see you here next week on Monday Night Raw. I want to see you, and he points at the sign, at WrestleMania. It was the crowd was really into it, I felt like, and it was just, again, another great promo that Cody Rhodes was involved in. As over the last 2 weeks, he's had awesome promos. Go backstage, Carmella, Nikki Cross, Asuka, and Candice LeRae talking. Carmella, Nikki Cross, and Asuka were talking mostly. And Candice LeRae came into the picture as well. They were with Kathy, I think. They're not Kathy, but whatever. They're just setting up the Elimination Chamber and the 6-woman tag match anyway. And Candice wondering why Asuka's been kind of following her. Why Nikki Cross has been kind of following her around. Then we go back to Kathy Kelly with Baron Corbin again, and she apologizes for the interruption, and Corbin complains about Sami interrupting, and then cutting to Sami and how he's the last one that pinned Roman Reigns 3 years ago, and Sami won't be able to do it, and Cody won't be able to do it. They're just both going to lose, and he badmouths Cody's family, and well, Cody overhears it. And Cody takes umbrage in that, and they start brawling, and eventually heads out to the ring from gorilla position, and we get a match. Cody Rhodes dressed in street clothes versus Baron Corbin. A really short match here. Cody gets the crossroads after a little bit of offense from Baron, not much. And 1, 2, 3, Cody Rhodes wins as he's still undefeated since returning to WWE. So there was that. Go back to gorilla position. Natalya, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez from SmackDown talking about how they were going to win the Elimination Chamber. But tonight they got to team up together. As it's now time for Liv, Raquel, and Natalya to face Carmella, Nikki Cross, and Asuka in a 6-woman tag match. This was a pretty decent match. These 6 women put on, but in the end, Asuka decided to take it upon herself to take out everybody, including her own partners. And Asuka would lock in that new Asuka lock or whatever they're going to end up calling it. Michael Cole called it the Asuka lock still last night, but more devastating than the Asuka lock, really, in my opinion. It made Liv Morgan verbally submit anyways. Team Raw would win that match. Then they go backstage to the Alpha Academy and then talking a little bit in there, by Maximum Male Models, and Maxine Dupree gives her business card to Otis, as she calls him. And Bronson Reed just comes in at the end of it and kind of snickers and walks off. It's kind of a pointless backstage segment, in my opinion, but it was what it was. I'm sure it's just going to lead to Otis joining the Maximum Male Models for whatever reason. We go to a segment from last week from after the show, and Mustafa Ali was talking to Dolph Ziggler, claiming how Dolph's getting all these opportunities, and if it would have been him instead of Dolph, he would have beaten Bronson Reed last week, and he would be going into the Elimination Chamber instead of Bronson Reed doing it. And Bronson Reed actually overhears it and comes in and says, "Hey, you think you can beat me? Why don't you give it a shot next week?" Which leads to the next match, Bronson Reed going one-on-one with Ali. Ali got a decent showing in here, but it was mostly Bronson Reed being shown out as usual. One-legged tsunami off the top rope from Bronson Reed picks up the win. Again, just about, for the most part, was a squash match. I mean, Ali got a little bit of offense in, but not much. Then we go backstage, Kathy Kelly with the grit couple, Edge and Beth Phoenix. Edge and Beth saying that they're sick and tired of all the Judgment Day issues that they've had, and they're going to put an end to it this Saturday at Elimination Chamber. And that was pretty much the gist of that promo. And then we get Miz TV. And the Miz's special guest, Seth freaking Rollins, who's wearing these big-ass red boots, like clown boots, pretty much. They were impressive, I'll say that much. Miz goading Seth Rollins on and trying to get Seth to acknowledge, so as to speak, or to mention Logan Paul, who's been having a social media tiff, I guess you could say, or back and forth between these two, Logan Paul and Seth Rollins, but Seth wouldn't mention him on TV. However, Miz was trying to get Seth too, and Seth says, "Hey, my focus isn't on him. He doesn't even belong around here. He doesn't have the passion that we do for this. I don't care about Logan Paul." Out comes Austin Theory, and we end up talking a little bit there, but we had the brawl, and Austin Theory actually got the better of Seth freaking Rollins with an 8-count down, and the promo after Rollins had hit a stomp on Miz. Go backstage, Rick Boogs and Elias. Elias tells Boogs, "Hey, maybe one of these days you'll be lucky enough that we can have a collaboration together." And Boogs starts booging out as usual. And you see in the background MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin talking. Then we come back, and Rick Boogs comes out, and Miz grabs a mic and says, "Do you really think we're having this match right now? Because I just got stomped, and I am not in any condition to have this match." Well, too bad. The ref rings the bell. The match starts because Miz kind of talked himself into actually wrestling. And Rick Boogs, another one-sided affair here as Rick Boogs takes out Miz in pretty quick fashion. Chelsea Green has a backstage segment with Adam Pearce. Nothing different than usual. Karen crap. Byron Saxton catches up with the Judgment Day, who say they're all going to be victorious at Elimination Chamber. And then we get the main event. Bianca Belair, Bayley, and Becky Lynch facing off in the triple threat match, where if Becky or Bayley win, then they go on to be in Elimination Chamber. But if Bianca wins, neither one of them get into the chamber. A really, really great match, in my opinion. This was definitely easily the match of the night. Might even have been the match of the week in wrestling, period. In between WWE and AEW, anyways, in my opinion. Damage Control, of course, got involved. So did all 6 of the women from the Elimination Chamber match. Really good spots from all 3 women and the other individuals that got involved. In the end, we see a manhandle slam to Bayley, only for Bianca to hit a KOD to Becky Lynch onto Bayley, and Bianca would then pin Bayley 1, 2, 3 to get the win. So Becky and Bayley are out. They're not getting the opportunity to be in the Elimination Chamber. They got to figure out a different way to get to WrestleMania now. All in all, it was a decent go-home show for Raw. The squash matches, I feel like there was really kind of too many of them, though. I would give, rating-wise, I would give a 6.5 out of 10 for Raw this week. I just felt like I said, the squash matches were too much. But the things that really stuck out was that main event match, and then the Sammy and Cody segment really, really did. And Seth Beats. Yeah, if John gets a chance to join in at some point, I'll see what he wants. If he has anything he wants to add from what he really enjoyed, get his opinion on those. But I'm just gonna run through these quick, otherwise, since nobody else is here. NXT live in Orlando. We kick off the show with the returning Grayson Waller facing off against Tyler Bate, as Tyler Bate's kind of sticking up for the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels here. As Grayson Waller had an issue with Shawn after the steel cage match at Vengeance Day. These two had a really, really good match. I know I say that a lot, really good, but it's true. Bate and Waller had good chemistry in this match, I felt like, for, I want to say, the first time they've ever faced each other in WWE. Couldn't tell it. But they really went back and forth for the most part. It was a decent length match. And at the end, Grayson actually goes for Sweet Chin Music, and Tyler Bate rolls him up and gets a 1, 2, 3. So Grayson ended up getting what he deserved. After the match, Grayson tries to get in Shawn's face again, and he gets escorted out of the arena. Interesting to see where they're going from there. I mean, Matt Bloom, former A-Train, kind of gets involved a little bit back there, too, to try and keep Shawn and Waller apart. Then we get Tiffany Stratton facing Thea Hale with Andre Chase and Duke Hudson in her corner. This match isn't much worth talking about. Neither one of these two have that great of offense, in my opinion. The thing to mention, Thea Hale got freaked out as she seen members of Schism come out there. And then at the end, she's seen Ava Rain. Actually, she's just going by Ava now, what I've seen on social media, in the crowd, and that just completely scared Thea Hale. Don't know what exactly Ava did to her last week, but no, Ava kidnapped her and did something. Tiffany would hit her moonsault, her version of the best moonsault ever, pretty much, to get the 1, 2, 3. And that was the end of that. And then I'm sure there was some promos worth talking about, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. We got Axiom facing Damon Kemp. Axiom looked really good in this, as he normally does. Damon Kemp had his moments in there as well. In the end, Axiom kicks up the win with his finish. It's an alright match. Nothing worth going out of your way to watch it, in my opinion. Then we get the Wes Lee Open Challenge for the North American Championship. And it looks like Tony D'Angelo is going to accept the challenge as him and Stacks come out, start heading towards the ring. But from behind, they get attacked by Dijak, as Dijak still wants revenge there. And then back in the ring, Wes Lee from behind gets attacked by Von Wagner. And Mr. Stone coming out with him. And then we get Von Wagner facing Wes Lee for the North American Championship out of it. I would say, honestly, this one was my favorite match at NXT this week. It's close between this and the main event, really, but I think this one was a little bit better. In the end, Wes Lee hit the cardiac kick to get the 1, 2, 3 as the Cardiac Kid retains the North American Championship. Von Wagner looked pretty good. I'm not a huge Von Wagner fan, but he looked pretty good in this match. So, I mean, later on in the show, Mr. Stone will be backstage with Von Wagner. He keeps telling him again, you got to help me help you. You got to give something. We got to change something here because you're not winning. We need to get you something different going. We need something to happen. Then we go in Hank Walker with Drew Gulak. Hank's got new gear that Drew Gulak gave him, even wearing some of Drew's boots, to face Charlie Dempsey. They had a decent match. I mean, Hank Walker is still very new to wrestling, and you can tell it. In the end, Charlie Dempsey gets a submission victory over Hank Walker. But the big story is, after the match, Drew Gulak left with Charlie Dempsey and left Hank Walker behind. So, interesting to see where things go from there, because Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak have had their issues ever since Dempsey debuted in NXT, pretty much. Then we go into the main event and get Caden Carter and Katana Chance, the former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, who apologized at one point during this night to Roxanne Perez for some of the comments they made last week, but they still wanted this match. They weren't going to back out of it, which was good. They face off against Roxanne Perez and Meiko Satomura. Really good tag team match for the women here. In the end, Roxanne hits Pop Rocks on Caden Carter, gets a 1-2-3. Roxanne and, of course, the returning Meiko get the win. Afterwards, Meiko says, I did you a favor. Now you owe me a favor. She wants and gets Roxanne Perez's NXT Women's Championship match, a match against NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez at Stand and Deliver. More than likely is what it sounded like. And that was the end of NXT. Braun Breaker did return during the show. Nothing huge happened with him, really. I mean, we didn't really see much of Carmelo Hayes. We've seen a little bit of him and Tricks, but nothing worth really talking about. I would say I'd give it probably like a 6 out of 10. I mean, I'd give Raw 6.5, but I'd give 6 for this. All right, I'm going to check. Okay. I'm the only one watching the show, it seems like, right now. So anybody who watches this later, I would love to get some feedback of what you guys think of this show and how you think we're doing. Busta Boy, myself, and John doing reviews on here. I don't like doing them solo as I'm doing right now, but when neither one of them, but John's still not home quite yet, I'm sure. But Busta Boy is just MIA, so I would like to get more people involved for when this kind of stuff happens. So if anybody ever wants to join in, feel free to DM me, message me on Facebook, whatever. You guys see all that social media stuff at the end of the show. So if not, just fast forward to the end of it if you need to. Anyway, moving along. Dynamite. We start the show off with the in memoriam of Jerry Jarrett, of course, who passed away this past week on Tuesday. Rest in peace to him, the father of Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett kicks off the show as he teams with Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sonjay Dutt in an 8-man tag against Orange Cassidy, Daddy Ass, and The Acclaim, with Danhausen in their corner. Of course, The Acclaim come out and have their usual rap, talking shit about Jeff and Jerry and all this other crap. It was, to me, 8 men is sometimes can be too much of a mess, really. And the shenanigans that you see from some of these guys, it's just crazy. Not my cup of tea. I wasn't a huge fan of this match. I mean, you get the scissor me timbers to Sonjay Dutt after everybody tried it, and then finally they get it, and then Anthony Bowens picks up the win with that. Wasn't for me. It wasn't my taste of wrestling, to be honest. So it was okay. Just okay. And we go from that to a Bryan Danielson promo from after the show last week. He's still all bloody, saying how MJF is afraid and scared, and he knows what's coming that at Revolution, he knows he will lose the AEW World Championship because Bryan Danielson's a boogeyman and he's coming to take that title from MJF. And then we get Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli coming out to the ring with the Wild Thing coming through the crowd. And in the crowd, they get attacked by Preston Vance and Roosh. We have Jose the Assistant with them as we get the Texas Tornado Tag Team matchup next. And of course, as usual, Moxley blades and butt bleeds all over the place here. Preston Vance actually blades as well and bleeds quite a bit. I don't like all the blading that they do, especially Moxley. He seems like he thinks he's got to blade every match pretty much. But it was a pretty interesting. It was good, but it wouldn't say great match. In the end, Moxley ended up making Preston Vance pass out the Bulldog choke, and it was physical, that's for sure. But Blackpool Combat Club picks up the win. And we see Hangman Adam Page was shown throughout the match, watching backstage. They go backstage and see the Butcher and the Blade holding him as Kip Sabian's attacking Hangman Adam Page as those two have a scheduled match later on in the show. We got a JR and Wardlow and a pre-taped interview. This was a really good segment, I felt like, though, where Wardlow mentioned how his father was really close. He was really close with his dad growing up. But his dad was out of his life from the time he was 8, I think was what he said, until he was a teenager. Then he came back into his life only to find out that his dad had cancer. Didn't have long to live. Mentioned how his dad was able to attend his first ever indie event, but the next day his dad passed away. And he decided to grow out his facial hair and his hair in honor of his dad. And that Samoa Joe took that from him when Joe cut the ponytail off. And for that, Joe's going to have to pay, and he's going to take everything from Samoa Joe. I thought that was a great promo. It was nice to see a human side, I guess you could say, of Wardlow there, and an explanation of why he's upset about this and what the difference is of Joe taking that from him and going further in this feud. And then we get Josh Woods versus Mark Briscoe in Mark Briscoe's second match in AEW. Mark Sterling, Ari Daivari, and Tony Nese were out there with Josh Woods. Daivari and Nese did get involved a few different times. Mark had the disadvantage. But after they got involved like second or third time, the Lucha Brothers actually came out and fought Daivari and Nese all the way to the back, to Mark Briscoe's surprise as well as Josh Woods' surprise. These two had a really good match. I would say it was one of the top matches on Dynamite, in my opinion. And in the end, I mean, there's points that it looked like both men could have won. But in the end, Mark Briscoe would hit Froggy Bow off the top to get the 1, 2, 3, as Mark Briscoe is still picking up some wins. Is he holding it down for the Briscoe Fort? It was revealed on social media afterwards that Mark is officially a member of the All Elite Wrestling roster now as well. We then go to a sit-down interview between Renee Paquette and Adam Cole. Adam saying the same stuff that he has been saying since he returned, pretty much, that he doesn't know when exactly he'll be coming back, but he's got some people in mind that he wants to face. He's just not going to tell you who he wants to face yet, but it'll be good for AEW when it does happen, is what he says. Then we get Loudmouth himself, AEW World Heavyweight Champion MJF, coming out to the ring. And the crowd was not having it at all with MJF. They were letting him hear everything. And MJF just decides he's going to talk over that Laredo crowd. And he wouldn't let them have their say at all, really. Talking a bunch of crap about Bryan Danielson and claimed that he had somebody that knew Bryan for a long time, and he'll tell you who the real Bryan Danielson is, and all that crap. And then introduces the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Chris Daniels was one of the first ones, well, if not the first one, that Bryan Danielson faced in Ring of Honor. And Christopher Daniels says, I've got this envelope here because it's full of this money that MJF gave me because you wanted me to lie about Bryan Danielson, and I'm just not going to do it because I don't need this money. I'm not that type of person anymore. I used to be, but not anymore. Because the reality is, I did face Bryan Danielson. I knew Bryan Danielson. He was part of the reason Ring of Honor began when it did. We talked about their history together and how Bryan Danielson made Christopher Daniels feel like in their first match against each other that Chris was going to be dead pretty much from the pain that he went through with Bryan. And Chris tells MJF, Bryan Danielson's going to beat you at Revolution. He's going to take you out in that 60-minute Iron Man match. MJF didn't like that. MJF low blows Christopher Daniels and went to put him in the salt of the earth, went to do more damage, but Bryan Danielson hits the ring and MJF runs away like a coward as usual. So then we get a promo from the Gun Club, who mentioned how they're the tag team champions and nobody was happy to see it, but they knew that it was going to happen and all that. Hoopla. And we get Jungle Boy Jack Perry facing Brian Cage with Prince Nana. I said that Mark Briscoe match was really good. I feel like this one was another really good match on Dynamite this week. Both men got a lot of offense in here. It looked like Brian Cage probably was going to win this match throughout quite a bit of it, I felt like. But in the end, Jack Perry did roll him up, get the 1, 2, 3. Both men looked really good, though. After the match, Jungle Boy's up the ramp, and Christian Cage's music hits. Christian comes out still in a sling. Jack gets close to him, and Christian sprays him in the face with some mace. And then Jack's down, and Christian pulls off the sling to reveal that, the arm's fine. It's healed now. And Christian ends up hitting a kill switch on Jack Perry on the ramp. And then leaves. And we go Renee Paquette backstage, and she reveals that the Guns will defend the AEW World Tag Team titles for the first time at Revolution in a triple threat match, or a three-way match, if you will, where they will face the winners of this upcoming week's Battle Royal on Dynamite, and then the winners of a Casino Battle Royale that'll take place in a couple weeks here on Dynamite. And then in comes The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, who reveal they're invoking the rematch clause at Revolution, so it won't be a triple threat. It'll be a fatal four-way match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. And then we go to another segment where the Elite is in the basketball court, and then AR Fox and Top Flight come in, and AR Fox and Top Flight want a rematch for the AEW World Trios Championships. And during it, you see the little House of Black flash during the promo, but the Elite eventually agreed to it, and a ball gets tossed and supposedly hits Brandon Cutler in the nards. But it's an okay segment. I don't understand exactly why the Elite would agree to give AR Fox and Top Flight another title shot, but it is what it is. Then we go to Kip Sabian versus Hangman Adam Page. It was a decent match. Hangman looked like he was pretty beat up from the attack earlier in the show, obviously, playing off of it. But in the end, Hangman hits the buckshot, or was it the Deadeye? Still, anyway, Hangman Adam Page gets the win, as you would figure he would here. And then was the thing that mattered the most. Moxley comes out with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta, and him and Page go back and forth a little bit about how they want to fight each other again. And then Mox mentions that Hangman doesn't have any friends because Hangman agrees to face Mox again. And out come Dark Order, Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. And Evil Uno got up into Moxley's face and let Moxley have it, and told Mox he wasn't afraid of him. Even faced Mox at one point. Mox looked past him, told Hangman he'd see him at Revolution in a Texas Death match. But out of all that, and Hangman was not happy with the Dark Order here, but they were there to back up Adam Page. But we will get we will get Jon Moxley versus Evil Uno this upcoming weekend. Dynamite out of all that. And we go backstage to Tony Schiavone with the Jericho Appreciation Society, who say that Ricky Starks is never going to get a chance to fight Chris Jericho again. Pretty much was adjusted that. And we go from that to Tony backstage with Stokely Hathaway, Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy. And Stokely wanted and gets Hook to be suspended because of Hook attacking him pretty much last week on the show, which was stupid. And then we get the main event, the three-way match between the women, as you get Toni Storm with Saraya in her corner versus Ruby Soho versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Jamie Hayter in her corner. This match was a little bit chaotic, I guess you could put it. The three women put on a pretty good show. This show was tough, I feel like. It just wasn't the greatest. But in the end, Ruby Soho would pin Britt Baker to win the match, and then Saraya and Jamie Hayter would get in there and back and forth with Ruby yelling at her, and Ruby says, "That's enough, I'm done with this," and Ruby just wants a shot at the women's title is what it looks like. But I was happy to see Ruby Soho win. This show just kind of felt flat to me, though. Probably one of the worst Dynamites they've had in quite a while, in my opinion. I'd say probably give this like a 6.5, like I did with Raw on Monday. I see there's a second person watching. If you got any comments or anything you want to put in the comment section, I'd be more than happy to read something more than what I'm just doing here. Okay, I'm checking something out before I get into Rampage. That was the next show. Whoops, wrong button. Some people might be watching that NBA All-Star game for all I know. Could be why nobody's really in here. But, oh, he did see it. He just isn't coming in. Okay, I see how you are, Busta. Anyway, let's get back to this. Okay. I want top messages. I want all messages. Not that anybody's left any messages. So then we get to Rampage. Kicks off with the World Trios Championship match. AR Fox and Top Flight versus Kenny Omega, Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, the Elite. Rampage Slam Dunk was the name of it because it's the All-Star Weekend. And they used the basketball quite a bit in this, which wasn't needed in my opinion. Their last match was so much better than this one, I felt like. And in the end, I mean, Kenny Omega hits the one-winged angel on Darius Martin. The Elite wins. There's a shocker. Retain their gold. Afterwards, Malachi Black and Brody King come out, and then they just leave. And that was all there was to that. So it looks like it'll be the House of Black versus the Elite going forward. And then we get the match of the night, in my opinion. Daniel Garcia facing Absolute Ricky Starks. These two had a really good match. Really, really good match. Back and forth they went. towards the end, I mean, Sammy Guevara comes out, has to get involved, but Action Andretti stops him, and they go fight to the back. Ricky would eventually hit a spear and Rochambeau to pick up the 1-2-3. Sammy comes back out afterwards and says he's tired of this shit with Action Andretti, and he wants a piece of him this upcoming week, which he'll get next week on Rampage, I do believe. And then we go into the TBS Championship match. Jade Cargill defends successfully and quickly over Vert Vixen. Yawn, 53-0 or something like that. I don't give a shit. Main event time, Swerve Strickland faces Dustin Rhodes. It was a decent match. Wasn't great. I mean, no offense to Dustin, but you can tell his age is catching up to him a little bit, I feel like, in the ring. But Swerve's not the greatest either, really. He's really good, but he's not the best. It's what happened afterwards that was a little more worth mentioning. I mean, Dustin bled during the match too, but that's nothing unusual for him either, just like it isn't with Mox, really. Afterwards, Parker and Swerve beat up on Dustin some more. Security staff comes out. Parker takes out the security guards. Woohoo! And then they get the cinder block out, put Dustin's head on it because they're going to stomp his head in. Instead, who am I? It's I am Keith Lee. As Swerve and Parker look towards the entrance ramp looking for Keith Lee, and whoop, pop up from behind is Keith Lee, who takes out both men and was going to do more damage to Swerve, but Parker Boudreaux ended up pulling him out, and they run off as Keith Lee and helps Dustin Rhodes up, saving Dustin pretty much from getting his head bashed in. So, good to see Keith Lee back. Not surprised since they're in Laredo, Texas. I'm pretty sure Keith Lee's from around that area. So, again, Daniel Garcia and Ricky Starks had the match of the night. If you want to watch anything from Rampage, I would suggest that one, and then maybe the Dustin and Swerve match would be second best to watch. But I'd probably give this 5.5 out of 10 for Rampage. Again, I'll get if John makes it in before I finish here. I got 2 more shows to go, and I'm hoping that him or somebody come in before I start talking about Elimination Chamber here. Then I'll get his comments on all these shows. Move on to SmackDown. As it was the first of 2 nights in a row that WWE would be in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in the Bell Center. And we kick off the show with Natalya and Shotzi facing off against Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in a really amazing match, I felt like. They had a great tag team match here to kick off SmackDown. One spot, you see Shotzi hit a DDT to Ronda Rousey on the ring apron, which they kind of botched it when they went for it in their singles match for the SmackDown Women's title. But this time they didn't botch it. Ronda looked like she went head first off that hardest part of the ring, and it did not look like it felt that good. But in the end, Shayna would get Natalya out of the way on the outside, and Ronda would get Shotzi locked into the armbar for the tap out victory. But yeah, like I said, I was really impressed by these 4 women in this match. I thought they did really good here. And then they'd go from that to the Roman and Sami Zayn story part 1 video showing everything leading up towards the Royal Rumble pretty much. And then you get Hit Row, or as some people on social media were calling them, Shit Row, as they're out there rapping and talking, and then all of a sudden the lights go out and we get lights back on, Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy in the ring, and they decimate both the Shantae, the Adonis, and Top Dollar. Bray Wyatt gets on the microphone and says, tomorrow night, when the dust clears, whoever wins between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, you better run. It looks like Bray Wyatt is going to be targeting whoever wins between those 2 big men. But him and Uncle Howdy are apparently a tandem now. So that's another interesting part to take out of that. It seems that they're working side by side here. So we'll see where that goes. Cut from that to Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Butch, and Rich Holland backstage, hyping each other up, leading into their tag match that's coming up shortly. The video again of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs celebrating with a WWE Championship custom made for him for winning the Super Bowl. Then we go backstage, Madcap Moss and Emma talking, as Emma's talking up how Madcap won the number one contenders match for the Intercontinental Championship last week, and nobody expected that to happen. And Madcap mentioned how she was going to surprise everybody else again tonight. We cut to Ariel Helwani in the crowd talking about Sami Zayn's return and the whole match coming up at Elimination Chamber. Then we get Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus Eric and Ivar, the Viking Raiders, with Valhalla in their corner. Again, another really good, really solid tag team match here. Eric and Ivar looked really good in this loss, but again, it was a loss for him. But yeah, it did what it needed to do, I felt like here. Will there be more between these two teams? I kind of hope not, but we shall see with WrestleMania coming up very soon. Drew picked up the win with the Claymore on Eric. Sheamus would hit the Bro kick on Ivar just before Drew hit the Claymore on Eric. So it was a nice lead into the Claymore anyway. But yeah. 2 tag team matches, 2 really good matches to kick off the show. And then they go to the Roman Sammy story part 2 video showing what happened at the Royal Rumble and where we're heading towards Elimination Chamber from that. And then Caleb Braxton would be backstage with Rey Mysterio. They'd show part of Rey and Santos Escobar's interaction that they had after SmackDown last week and the exchanging of the mask. And Kayla talks a little bit to Rey about that, but in comes Karrion Kross and Scarlett and talking all the crap about how Rey's just such a bad father and all the stuff that Karrion Kross has been saying to him. It was kind of a pointless backstage promo, I felt like, almost, but it leads to a rematch between those two that's next week on SmackDown was all it was there for. Then we get the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka versus Liv Morgan with Carmella on commentary. Asuka and Liv looked fantastic out there in this one-on-one match. But of course, the other women that would be in the Women's Elimination Chamber match would get involved and, well, at least would come out there. And Nikki Cross was funny to watch. I mean, she sat in Wade Barrett's lap at one point. But anyway, in the end, Asuka would get in that Asuka lock again. Liv would submit verbally, and then all hell breaks loose. Carmella hits a super kick on Asuka, a discus lariat from Natalya to Carmella. Nikki Cross took out Natalya. Raquel hits the Tejada bomb on Nikki, and then Liv hit the code breaker on Raquel before Asuka and Liv would kind of stare down each other to end the segment. All right. Then they go back to Ariel Helwani again in the crowd, hyping up tomorrow night and tonight, the end of the show tonight. Megan Morant catches up with Imperium in the gorilla position. They're saying how the mat's sacred and he's going to take out Madcap Moss to prove that it's still sacred and the Intercontinental Championship's not going anywhere. It's how he's been Intercontinental Champion for longer than anybody in the last however long it's been now. And then we get Madcap Moss versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. And I know a lot of people, and including myself, aren't huge fans of Madcap Moss, but I thought he looked pretty damn good in this match. I thought it was his best outing we've seen probably so far in WWE. He looked like at times that he was close to winning the Intercontinental Championship, but as per what everybody I'm sure figured going in, Gunther did pick up the win, beat Madcap Moss, and is still your Intercontinental Champion. The powerbomb. Again, they show photos of the Kansas City Chiefs celebrating with their custom-made WWE Championship from the Super Bowl party. And then we get the end of the show as you get Sami Zayn making his homecoming. And man, what a homecoming it was. I mean, Sami comes out to the old theme song. The crowd's singing along to it. He gets in the ring and they're just going bananas for Sami there in Toronto. Or, excuse me, in Montreal. But the crowd chants, and it just went on for, somebody said, like 4.5 minutes or something like that. And before Sami could even get a word out. It's been a long time, I feel like, since we've seen something like that for a hometown hero, so as to speak. Sami was very well deserving of it. He gets the Olay chance. He got the Sami chance. You deserve it chance. F you Roman chance. All of that. And Sami just, he was in tears. That's how moved he was by everything that happened there from that reaction. You got his few words in, hyping up the Elimination Chamber match and how it's not just him versus Roman. It was Roman versus him and the whole city of Montreal at the Elimination Chamber. And that was pretty much how they would end SmackDown. Man, this show was really, really solid for the go home show before Elimination Chamber, I felt like. I would give it, man, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely the highest rated show, the best show of the week, in my opinion, SmackDown was. All right. Want to check. Get back to this in a second. I want to break free. Yeah, so interesting little tidbit. Roman Reigns has now passed John Cena with combined days as a WWE champion, by the way. Interesting to know. I'm kind of trying to waste a little bit of time here, looking up some stuff. Looks like Mercedes Moné, formerly Sasha Banks, did win the women's championship from Kairi at New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley last night. And what I've heard was a really good match. I haven't seen it though. If you haven't seen SmackDown, I would definitely suggest you go and watch, especially the ending of the show where Sami got that ovation. But the show altogether was just incredible, in my opinion. So I definitely say go check it out. I don't want to do that. Get rid of that for a minute. There we go. Bring that back up the way I want it. Want to break free. Ta-da. All right. So I know I just kind of passing off on stuff here. I was trying to waste a little bit of time to get John in here. I was hoping or somebody, but doesn't look like anybody's coming. So we're going to talk Elimination Chamber. Get the opening video leading into the show, And we start off with the women's Elimination Chamber match to crown the number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship. So, anybody want to talk some wrestling? Oh. We start off the match. Liv Morgan and Natalya are the first two in the chamber, as Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Carmella, and Asuka are all in the pods. Natalya and Liv had a... Ooh, man, I didn't write that down. Shame on me. Natalya and Liv had a pretty good start to this match, I felt like. They went back and forth. I didn't do that. That's why. Oh, Seth didn't. Wow. They started off pretty hot in there, and then Raquel Rodriguez would be the next person, the first person to come out of a pod, as we got all three of the SmackDown women in there to kick things off. This was an insane match, to be honest with you. It was a really good way to kick off the show. Once everybody got in there, it just kind of went like that, though. I felt like it was too quick, too fast-paced after all six women were in the match. Compared to what we'd see later on in the show. But they still got their spots in there. Nikki Cross would enter next, and then Carmella, Asuka would enter last. But before Asuka would enter, Raquel Rodriguez would drive Nikki Cross. Well, let me back up a little bit before I do that. Nikki Cross, Nikki Crazy, as some people would call her, would climb up to the top of a pod and jump off the top of the pod onto Carmella, or onto Raquel, Liv, and Natalya just before Carmella came in, which was crazy, but that's to be expected from Nikki. But after Carmella came out and she had locked herself back in her pod, well, she came out the other side as Raquel drove Nikki Cross through Carmella's pod. And Raquel would then pull Nikki out of the pod and would pin her 1, 2, 3 in the ring. Then we'd get Asuka in there. Those five women would go at it for a little while. And then Liv Morgan would find herself caught in the sharpshooter from Natalya. Just about made it to the ropes. Natalya pulls her away. Asuka comes in and locks in the Asuka lock on Liv Morgan as well. Liv tried her damnedest to stay in it, but even with a smile on her face, she would pass out. Referee would call for it. Liv Morgan was eliminated from a double submission pass out. Right after that, Carmella would hit a super kick on Natalya and pin her. That was pretty damn quick after that. And then after that, Carmella and Asuka would take out Raquel, get in a double pin on her, leaving it down to Carmella and Asuka, who would go at it for a brief period of time. But in the end, it was Asuka who would lock in the Asuka lock, or whatever you want to call it, this new submission, new version of the Asuka lock, I guess, to make Carmella verbally tap out. It will be Asuka going one-on-one with Bianca Belair at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Empress Tomorrow versus EST. And with that, I say Asuka needs the win more than Bianca Belair does at WrestleMania, so I'm hoping this version of Asuka, which I love. I'm really, really enjoying this version of Asuka very much. Hope that she gets the win and goes on to become the Raw Women's Champion. I do agree, though. I feel like Asuka needs to turn heel in leading up to this match, though, because Bianca's not going to turn heel more than likely. One of them needs to, for sure, but I feel like Asuka would be the better choice here. Because it wouldn't seem right to have two baby faces. I mean, we had two baby faces when it was Sasha and Bianca, pretty much, even though Sasha kind of did heel things leading into their match, but 2 years ago. But I just feel like that's what they need to do here. Have Asuka go full on heel. She hasn't really done just babyface stuff since she returned anyway. So let her go full on heel. Let her be full on Kana and take out Bianca going in, I say. All right. Let me get some videos of stuff. Next match we get is the almighty Bobby Lashley versus the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Fast-paced, finisher after finisher after finisher after finisher. Typical Brock Lesnar match. Looked like Brock was going to win after an F5. Looked like Lashley was going to win after a spear. And looked like that again and again and again and again. Brock finally got caught in the hurt lock by Bobby. Brock couldn't get out of it. He got out of it once earlier in the match, but Brock couldn't get out of it this time. Decides to low blow Bobby Lashley, calling the disqualification. This match was just rotten, terrible, horrible, you name it. This match was it. It wasn't a good match at all, in my opinion. We're supposed to get Bray Wyatt versus whoever won this match out of this from what it sounded like on SmackDown, but this isn't over between Brock and Bobby. It can't be. You wouldn't think it would be from there. I mean, especially with what we see after the match, Brock calls over referee Chad Patton and hits him with an F5. Hits him with an F5 and then hits Bobby again with an F5, excuse me. Throws Bobby out of the ring and then hits an F5 to Bobby Lashley through the table, pulls referee Chad Patton out of the ring and hits another F5 to Chad Patton out on the floor. And then Brock leaves. Bobby won the match, but didn't look like a winner, unlike last time that these two fought each other, where Brock won the match and didn't look like the winner. So kind of the opposite here. But yeah, that was definitely the worst match of the show. That's the last I got to say about it. Then we go to the first parody for WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, as you get Seth freaking Rollins as the Joker, dancing around, singing and doing stuff, and then you get Becky Lynch coming in her best Batman voice. She's the man, not Batman, the man. And she's going to the man cave. It was a hilarious, hilarious parody. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out on social media or check out Elimination Chamber and see it. But it was cool. You get the 2K23 trailer shown, DraftKings video Cody, Ariel Helwani shown in the crowd with Jorge St. Pierre. Then we got the mixed tag team matches. You got Rhea Ripley and Finn Balor with Dominic Priest facing off against the grit couple Rhea Ripley and Edge. This crowd was all over Dominic, chanting F-U Dominic throughout quite a bit of this match. It was a good mixed tag team match. I agree with what I see on social media. The women kind of took control, I guess you could say, of this match. Not to take anything away from Edge and Finn Balor, but they kind of did. At one point, you see Dom getting involved, and Edge chases after him, nails a clothesline on Finn Balor as Finn was in the way, and Dom leaves as the crowd serenades him with a na, hey, goodbye. Only for like a minute later, Dom comes back out to a chorus of boos. It's more F.U. Dominic's. Four people went back and forth. At one point, Edge and Finn were on the ropes. And Rhea Ripley comes in from behind, grabs a hold of Edge. Beth comes in and grabs Finn and a powerbomb off the ropes to each of the guys, which was amazing. It looked like Judgment Day was going to pick up the win at one point. Dominic slides in the brass knucks. Rhea ends up getting him and hits Edge in the back of the head with him. Finn goes for the cover, only gets 2 count though. Finn at the end goes up for the coup de grace. While Rhea and Beth are fighting on the outside, Beth grabs a hold of Dominic and launches him, into the ropes and knocks Finn off of his balance. It was interesting to see. We see, so many different spots in this match. I couldn't even name them all. But it was a good match. We see Edge eventually hit the spear on Finn. And that wasn't it, though, because then he would pick him up, and then him and Beth would hit a shatter machine on Finn Balor. Edge gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. The Grit couple wins over the Judgment Day. Still don't feel like this is over, though. I know what happened on the press conference later leads to something that's going to happen on Raw Monday night, but I feel like Edge and Finn probably aren't done yet. They'll probably go to WrestleMania in that Hell in a Cell match that's rumored. We go from there into the WWEshop.com video. Video of The Miz, Roman and Paul talk a little bit backstage about the upcoming main event, and Paul saying that this is Roman's town now, and everything's going to go Roman's way. And all that fun stuff. Oh, excuse me. And it is time. Yeah, I'll get that later. Hey. Whoops. I didn't want to do that. I wish that was my show. Anyway. Hey, there I am. Then we go into, well, many would say probably was the match of the night. Wrestling-wise, yes, I agree. Storyline-wise, I'd say the main event was. But this is definitely up there. The Elimination Chamber for the United States Championship. We kick things off with Johnny Gargano, and Seth freaking Rollins. Man, did they put on quite the brawl between the two of them before the third entrant hit. Back and forth they went, hitting their moves. Looked awesome. Austin Theory, the champion, would then come in as they kind of ping-ponged him a little bit. One point, you got to love it. Have to see it if you didn't. You got to go back. You got to watch it. Austin Theory shuts himself into one of the pods, into his pod again, and thinks he's locked both guys out of there. Well, Johnny's locked out, but Seth pops in from the other side. Johnny goes, "Look behind you." And Austin turns right around into a beat down from Seth, and Seth and Johnny both come into the pod and lock themselves in as they beat up on Theory as the clock hits 0 and Damian Priest enters. Priest gets his advantage. All 6 of these guys had really good moments in here. Bronson Reed would enter next. Montez Ford was last. Incredible moments for everybody. They'd shown out like they should. We got to see everything that you would imagine. Montez Ford, oh my God. He did incredible things in this match, including climbing up the side of the chamber and the chain links up to the top of it, and then just dropping down onto everybody. It was incredible. The first elimination would come. We'd see one final beat from Johnny Gargano, followed up by a stomp from Seth Rollins, and then the From the Heavens from Montez Ford, and a pinfall from Ford to Bronson Reed, as Reed was the first one eliminated. A while later, Johnny Gargano looked outstanding in this match as well. Like I said, all 6 of these guys did great job in here. We've seen Johnny take over, I would say, in this match. The best he's looked since he was returned, in my opinion. And with that, Johnny had the momentum going, it looked like, but Damian Priest put an end to it, snuffed him out, hit a razor's edge, got the 1, 2, 3. Johnny was eliminated. A little bit later on, Montez Ford and Damian Priest were going at it, and Seth Rollins. Seth had Priest up in a power bomb, and Montez Ford hit the blockbuster off the top. Something that you see with the Street Profits. Ford would get the 1, 2, 3, eliminating Damian Priest. A little bit of that while after that, Montez Ford, we got Ford, Theory, and Rollins left. Theory was getting ping-ponged at times throughout this match, but Montez Ford had him down and thought he had things going his way, but he ended up getting a stomp on the outside of the ring, kind of in between the little way there on the mat. Theory would knock Rollins down and would take the cover and get the 1, 2, 3, eliminating Montez Ford. Then comes the part where the referee's checking on Ford. Looks like Ford might have a head injury from the stomp. This is what they're playing it as. The door gets left open. Referees come in. The EMTs come in. They help Ford out. Ford stumbles a little. He's going out the stairs. Takes a seat. And then, next thing we know, as Seth is getting the advantage on Austin Theory and setting up for the curb stop, in comes Logan Paul. And Logan comes over the top with a buckshot lariat to Seth freaking Rollins. And then Logan Paul would deliver a stomp of his own onto Seth Rollins before leaving and closing the door. And leaving Seth dead to rights as Austin Theory would pick him up and hit the A-Town down. 1, 2, 3. Austin Theory retains the United States Championship as we still live in the now. And Logan Paul is definitely a marked man now for Seth freaking Rollins. All right. We get the trailer for WWE Rivals that was on tonight. DraftKings video with Sheamus and Drew. Video Bianca, WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, promo. Preview video for the main event. It was interesting that they have Roman Reigns come out first, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion here, with Paul Heyman in his corner. But it was smart to have him come out first. I mean, the ovation that Sami Zayn got again 2 nights in a row. This one was even bigger than the night before, honestly. I feel like this match really delivered on every aspect. I mean, there's a lot of people that were going to be upset with the outcome of it, but you had to know what was going to happen. Roman was great here. Sami was great here. You get 2 outstanding performances. Roman even getting in the face of Sami's wife saying, hey, I didn't want to have to do this. I just wanted to help provide for your family, and he took it all away. It's all his fault. And she says, well, he loved you. You did it to yourself. Did this to everything. It was emotional, of course. The crowd getting in it, getting behind Sami as much as they could at times. Amazing performance. Of course, you get the referee taken out. Sami hits a haluva kick, has Roman down for a count of 10, pretty much. Jimmy Uso hits the ring. Super kicks galore, about 3 or 4 of them, 3 of them, I think. And then the Uso splash. Looks like Roman's going to get the win as another referee, Ryan Tran, comes out. Roman goes for the cover, 1, 2, and a kick out. The crowd goes nuts. Jimmy and Roman both about lose it. Thought things were done for there. That referee ends up getting taken out as well. And Roman has a chair given to him by Paul Heyman because Jimmy had gotten taken out from a haluva kick from Sami. And then before Roman can hit Sami with the chair, Jey Uso pops in the ring. And Roman ends up handing Jey the chair, wanting Jey to hit Sami with it. Jey's looking at Roman like he's very conflicted. Jey wouldn't do it. Roman takes the chair from him, and Roman pie faces Jey a few different times and has some words for Jey Uso. And then Sami goes for a spear, and Roman moves out the way, and Jey Uso eats the spear. And then Roman has a chair and just waylays, hits a Superman punch, I think, first on Sami, and then destroys Sami with the chair, about 5, 6, 7 shots with the chair. And then a big old spear, and the original referee comes back in the ring. 1, 2, 3, Roman Reigns retains the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. So then Jimmy Uso gets back in the ring, and Jimmy's beating up on Sami, and then Kevin Owens' music hits. And KO comes back out. First time we've seen him in 3 weeks since the Royal Rumble. KO gets in, it comes out. He beats up on Jimmy, hits a stunner, goes in the ring and goes after Roman, beats up Roman some. And then Paul Heyman actually, well, you get pop a powerbomb through a table to Jimmy Uso as well. Paul Heyman beats up on the back of Kevin Owens and then pleads to Kevin, saying he doesn't love Roman. He loves KO and he wants to be with KO. And KO hits him with a stunner, which was awesome. And then Roman's getting back up to his feet in the corner, and Kevin eventually just moves off to the side as Sami hits a haluva kick on Roman Reigns. As you get the feel-good moment there, Sami and KO, the Montreal boys, standing tall as the bloodlines crumpling still and leave to the back. As we see Sami Zayn's kind of looking a little off, but he was standing in the ring by himself with his music playing as the show went to a recap of the video of the whole show to end Elimination Chamber. So I gave SmackDown a 9 out of 10. 8.5, 9, whatever, 8.5, I think I said. Elimination Chamber. Man, this was really good. I will give this a 9 out of 10. It would be 9.5 or a 10, but that Brock and Bobby match just took it down for me. So I still think it was probably the best show out of everything that happened in wrestling this week, though. But it is what it is. So what happened after the show, though, is something worth mentioning as well. We get the press conference, and on the press conference, Austin Theory said he was going to have his first ever United States Championship Open Challenge on Raw Monday night. And then the next person they talked to was Edge and Beth. Edge mentioned he hasn't wrestled in Ottawa in a long time. And that's interesting. Sorry, I just seen something that caught me off that I wasn't expecting. Anyway. I lost my train of thought, though. Oh, yeah. Edge also mentioned how he hasn't held a gold in a long time. So he was looking to answer the open challenge for Austin Theory, and he would face Austin Theory in the United States Championship the upcoming Monday night on Raw. If Austin had the guts to accept. So that was an interesting take out of that. I will show that too, but I want to see if they've got. Yeah, as far as I know, that's the only thing it looks like that they've got announced for Raw tomorrow night. Edge versus. Austin Theory for the United States Championship. But I am going to share with you a couple other things that I see from WWE. I'll show you here. Oh, Big John Studd on his birthday. Oh, yeah. I guess I could have mentioned that when I was on NXT, but that's okay. I'm going to delete those because we'll just talk. I'll show you stuff here. Whoops. Not settings. I want present. As you see here, these are some of the matches that are signed up for NXT this upcoming Tuesday. I forgot to mention during NXT that when Braun Breaker made his return, he was interrupted by Jinder Mahal and Indus Sher. Leading into this match, you get Braun Breaker defending the NXT Championship this Tuesday against Jinder Mahal, which I'm sure Braun will win. Indy Hartwell will be facing JC Jane, and Trick Williams going on one with Ilya Dragunov. As you see a little bit further, I know I've seen some more NXT stuff that was announced a little bit ago. I might play that, give you a little recap. There's the Edge and Theory match that's going to happen tomorrow night on Raw. Also on NXT, you got Malik Blade and Idris Anafi take on the NXT Tag Team Champions Gallus in a non-title match. Ivy Nile will go one-on-one with Alba Fire. Nice. And Chase U, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson will face the Dyad from Schism. So that's all coming up on NXT. I'm going to go full screen here so you guys can see this recap from Elimination Chamber from last night, which will lead close to the end of the show here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Mitchell for WWE Now, and let's take a look back at an unforgettable night at Elimination Chamber. So let's throw 5 minutes on the clock and get it started. The stage was set for one of the most improbable underdog stories in WWE history. Arguably the most dominant champion ever against the unlikely challenger and hometown hero. Monday night for Raw at 8/7 Central on the USA Network, they hit the home stretch on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, so that's the best recap you can do really for Elimination Chamber. I mean, they went backwards there, but that's what's leading into Monday Night Raw. Let me go to this. This upcoming Wednesday on Dynamite, we got Yvonne Moxley, Sky Blue versus Soraya. The Acclaimed will be facing the Firm's Big Bill and Lee Moriarty with Stokely Hathaway in their corner. Cassidy defending his AEW All Championship, his former best friend appeared. We'll hear from Bryan Danielson live in Phoenix. Tony Schiavone will interview Christian Cage. And then we get the 10-team Revolution Tag Team Battle Royale, where the winner will join the Acclaimed and the Guns in the Fatal 4-Way match for the tag team titles at Revolution. You got Preston Vance and Roosh, LFI. And you got Top Flight. You got Chuck and Trent, the best friends. Aussie Open, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, 2.0, if you will. Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange. And then you got Johnny Hungy and Alex Reynolds from Best Friends. From catching myself off here. From Dark Order, rather. Ari Daivari and Tony Nese. Like the Butcher and the Blade, and Penta and Rey Fenix, Lucha Bros. Personally, I kind of want to see Top Flight win this match. So I'm hoping we'll get the win. I've really been impressed by Top Flight for the most part. So I would love to see them get a shot at the tag team titles. Yeah, we know Joe and Wardlow meet at Revolution for the TNT title. I was looking to see if they had anything announced for Rampage next week, but I'm sure they announced something for it during Rampage. I just can't remember what. But anyway, they're on their way to, Tony Khan's supposed to make an announcement as well. Dynamite. They're on their way to Revolution, where we got, of course, the main event will be the 60-minute Iron Man match. Bryan Danielson. That's all the news. That was everything wrestling-wise that took place this week. Not a huge fan of doing these solo, so we'll see what happens from here. Next week, Sunday, hopefully will be different. I mean, I know we just did a show yesterday. Maybe that's part of the reason why the guys didn't want to show up and do it today. I don't know. But with that, hour and a half talking all by myself to nobody because nobody's been in the chat or anything else has been no fun, honestly. But we're going to try and make sure that doesn't happen again. All right, guys. I'm going to head out of here. This has been your WWE AEW Week in Review. Let's hope this is another fun week as we head down the road.